Okay. Hello and good evening, or good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are watching on this second video podcast that we're doing in the Constitution Podcast. My name is Carl Aguilar. Thank you all for watching this video podcast here. And thank you for all who have been supporting the page, the Constitution Project, and all our posts there on Facebook, as well as our tweets on Twitter. Uh, right now, it's a special video podcast that we're doing because we have a guest here today. He is one of the leaders of a constitutional reform movement called Tanggulang Demokrasya or TanDem. But I will ask him to share more about his group and about himself and what they are doing in the matter of constitutional reform. So I'll just invite him here on the screen. Okay, I'm just gonna. So hello to Attorney Dindo Donato. Attorney Dindo, for starters, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Hello. Good
Hi, hi.
evening. Good evening. I'm Dindo Donato. I'm a practicing lawyer. My practice now is corporate commercial, although I started as a labor lawyer. Anyway, apart from the professional practice, I also have this advocacy, which I do together with TanDem, and it's called the system change advocacy. Specifically, it's for now, it's the constitutional reform advocacy. I've been into this for like 15 years already. In the case of Lambino versus Comelec, I was the counsel of the principal proponent, Mr. Raul Lambino. He asked me to help him because he was the one busy debating with all these guys, explaining to the supporters, addressing the opponents. So he asked me to help handle the case. That was 15 years ago. If you look at back further, constitutional reform movement in the Philippines is probably like 25 years old already. Okay. That's I guess that's it.
Yeah. You touched upon the Lambino case, which my memory is quite vague, but I believe it has something to do with with regards to
People's Initiative.
the People's Initiative.
That's correct.
Yeah. For the benefit of those who are not quite familiar, uh, what was the case about, and how did the Supreme Court decide on that?
Okay. People's Initiative is basically a way to amend or revise or change the Constitution. There are two other ways, actually. Constituent Assembly, when the sitting congressmen and senators together will amend it, actually propose to amend it, because it's actually the people who will vote on it. Yeah. And then the second is a constitutional convention. You elect delegates. Basically, these are delegates from the same districts as the congressmen now. It's just another set. Okay. And then again, they propose. This what I would like to emphasize. In a constitution, the lawmaker there is the people. 60 million voters. They're the ones who will vote yes or no, majority, win or lose. That's not the same as the ordinary law. It's just the lawmakers who will vote on it. Okay? So when you say you have a proposal from Congress or Senate, that's not yet the Constitution. It's just a proposal. Okay? before Lambino case, there was the Santiago case, Santiago versus Comelec. That was the what I said 25 years ago. I had the privilege to work with um, Mrs. Chit Pedrosa, one of the proponents then. Um, they had this initiative. They had signatures, probably around 6 million, more or less, and it was opposed. The opponents brought it to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, the proponents lost their the ruling of that Santiago case was that the existing initiative law covered only the ordinary law. It did not cover amendments or revision or changes in the Constitution. That was the Santiago case. Okay. In 15 years ago, when there was a second attempt uh, to among the private sector, they called themselves Sigaw ng Bayan. And then for the government, mostly LGUs, was ULAP, if I recall correctly. That's a different group. Mr.
Mhm.
Lambino was for Sigaw ng Bayan. That's where I was helping him, not the other part. In that case, we were actually able to reverse Santiago versus Comelec. We won, in other words, in Lambino versus Comelec, in the main issue, whether or not the existing law covered existing law on initiative covered changes to the Constitution, we won that issue. Okay,
Mhm.
so in fact, after that case, the COMELEC changed its rules to expressly say that this law on initiative covered amendments. Unfortunately, there was one other issue, um, the amendment and revision,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
we lost that 8-7. In other words, one vote on one issue. And because of that, the entire petition was lost. That's
Mhm.
very unfortunate because the uh, undertaking there was that the proponents wanted to bring the issue to the voters. Plebiscite, yes or no? Because anyway, it's the voters who are the
Yeah.
ultimate lawmakers of the Constitution, not Congress, not the
Mhm.
Senate, not even the CONCON, no one except the voters themselves, 60 million voters. So that was very unfortunate. That's the second time that the Supreme Court blocked a proposition for initiative. So today, our group, together with others, will actually file again, but we do not have the resources for the usual direct initiative that will gather like 7 million signatures. We don't have that. So there's another way in the law. They call it indirect initiative, petition for indirect initiative. It's basically just for ordinary NGOs, citizens, filing a petition with the Senate or the House. So what is that petition all about? It's basically just an appeal for them to convene in Constituent Assembly and consider what we file. That's all. They can disregard it, ignore it. So it's just an appeal. But that process, petition for indirect initiative, it's there in the law.
Mhm. Well, let's talk about that those plans there in a bit. Um, but for the meantime, you mentioned that you are part of TanDem. Can you provide us a brief background about what is
Yes,
TanDem and how did it come about?
yeah. TanDem is basically SEC registered, Tagulang Demokrasya. Uh, the roots were like in way back in 2010 because of that was the main issue or main advocacy of TanDem, transparency in automated elections. So we were questioning the PCOS. Our colleagues had evidence on uh, questionable electronic transmissions. Yeah. So that's where we started. That's the first advocacy of TanDem. Then later on, under the guidance of our mentor, advisor, the late Father Archie, Romeo Intenan, he's a Jesuit priest. He already passed away like a few years back.
Mm.
But he was our advisor, our mentor, and he guided us uh, to this second advocacy system change. That was very good for me because actually, even before TanDem, I was already into that system change constitutional reform. So that's where TanDem is now. Um, we have two advocacies: electoral reform, electoral transparency in automated elections, and system change,
Mm.
which for our purposes can be constitutional.
Yeah. Um, is your passion or advocacy for system change, does it go, because you mentioned earlier you worked with Attorney Lambino on the case. So did it start from there, or was your advocacy for change, system change, go way beyond that?
Uh, how do you say it? In the Sigaw ng Bayan case, Lambino case, that was probably the first time that I engaged in it openly as a lawyer. Yeah. Although before that, I already had in my mind things that I would like to see, but there was no formal engagement with any group. I was not part of the group of Miss Pedrosa, which is 25 years ago. So I joined in like 15 years ago only. So I guess, yes, that was the first time that I cooperated with groups, with others, fellow advocates in pushing something that we like. Before that, it was just in our minds. That's all. Uh, nothing, nothing beyond that.
Just to clarify, are you one of the co-founders of TanDem, or were you just or from the start, or did you join a little bit later? Just
I was there at the beginning. Yeah.
uh,
Although the group, the core group, the board that's led by Mrs. Kilaiko, she's our chairman, and Tess Baltasar, she's our president. And of course, our mentor, very instrumental, the late Father Archie. We They call him Father Archie, Archbishop, Archbishop. But actually, he's a priest, Jesuit priest from the Ateneo.
okay. Would you know if he's colleagues with one of the? I know there's Father Bernas, who was part of the Constitutional Commission
Oh,
1987.
yeah,
Would
yeah,
you know
yeah,
if
yeah.
he's colleagues with him?
No, he's not with us. It's only Father Archie.
Ah, okay. So you mentioned that one of your advocacies is system change, part of which
Yes.
is changing the constitution. As far as your group is concerned, what changes, or at least main changes, are you pursuing with you guys at TanDem?
I guess you're familiar with the 3-point agenda, correct? I believe you're
Yes.
also part of that. I was also part of that, together with my colleague Arnel, and of course Orion,
Yeah.
the prime mover there, the principal guy, correct movement.
Yeah.
That's what we like. That's what I like. I think those are the most important things. Economy,
Mhm.
importante, trabaho.
Yes.
Diba?
Yes.
We need the all money available. Diba? You can shut out the foreigners, but you let their money come in. Di ba?
Yeah.
Kasi
It's all about the money.
yung di ba?
Yeah.
Yung sinasabi nila, oh, investors, everybody will, no, that's not. Migration is governed by labor law, immigration law. Okay? You're not changing that. We just want their money in, probably a few representatives to to manage their money. That's it. Okay? Second is the parliament, although there's a local counterpart there, the council type LGU. In other words, it's a collegial rule. Instead of relying on one person to do everything, the buck stops at him, whatever. How do you say that? Um, this one is not. This is a collegial group. That they are the ones ultimately responsible. Ang magandang example dyan, we uh, align ourselves, or we have groups from the tribal groups, tribal people, indigenous people, Lumad Mindanao, and I always hear from them that in the old days, tribal council. Yeah. Of course, they will eventually elect a leader, yeah, one of them. But I mean, that tribal council that more or less governs the tribe. If you're a Catholic, Christian, this is something that got into me now. Uh, when Jesus left, he left a group of 12,
Yes.
tribal council. Yeah. It's not like, of course, they will elect a pope, whatever, but it's a group. Yeah, and that's what we like uh, to move forward. Presidential is like one man rule, so
Yeah.
for us it doesn't work well. Then of course the third more important one is I would call it regional decentralization, because there are three levels there. Like for in our proposal, you can choose. You don't have to. It's not something like it's forced on you. You can choose. One is like ordinary regional authority. Um, that's a part of the national government, just like SBMA. One-stop shop, everything there. You decide there. That's it. But it's bigger area. Second level is like BARM. Yeah. It's almost like a sub-state, but it's actually, strictly speaking, a local government unit. That's what BARM is. It's a local government unit. Okay? Because we are unitary. Okay? The third level, of course, is the sub-state. Example like Malaysia. The regions will have their own sovereignty already. Uh, Within the country, uh, you will have sub-states. Each one is sovereign within the country. Yeah. But in the international community, they don't look into that. They look into the federal state as one. It's not like they will look into each sub-state there. So it's just one state. That's it. There are others, of course, like inclusive society. We are looking at the formal recognition of sultanates, just to preserve our culture. It's not that we will give them government powers. No, no, no. Because that's already in the government. You already have voters. The people here are sovereign, not the sultan, not the king, not the monarch. But we would like to give some legal recognition there. I mean, just for culture's sake, and we are thinking it will also help the Sulu Sultanate recover what is due them, the rentals for Sabah, something like that. We're not proposing aggressive action against Malaysia, but no, not nothing like that, please. But something that is due to them.
Going back to your group's idea on the decentralized structure,
Yes, sir.
because you touched upon the three levels. So would you say it's akin to like, because in some federal countries, they have like the states which are more powers, and then there are the territories. Like in the case of Canada, there's like the provinces and the territories. The territories having they are the federal government has more supervision over them as opposed to the provinces, which they have more leeway on internal matters. So is that if I understand correctly, is that something that is your idea of how the decentralization would be in your proposal?
Yeah, that is the idea. The idea is bottom up
Mhm.
uh, instead of top down. The Bayanihan Comcon draft is top down. You
Mhm.
already designed, already cut up the country. There's already a system there. You go to a blend, decide yes or no. Yeah?
Mm-mm.
In our approach, it's bottom up, just like the way BARM was formed.
Mm-mm.
Let there be a law, design the law, budget, etc., and then they have to win in the plebiscite before that can be a sub-state. In other
Mm-mm.
words, some can go ahead, some probably will not do it. Actually, I mean, it's asymmetric. The
Yeah.
system is asymmetric. Um, why is that? Based on the survey, we have a partner in the People's Draft. That's our initiative with TanDem and Publicus. They had this survey before that support is strongest in Mindanao, probably because it's farthest from the center, so they feel neglected and they want to go their own way. Yeah. Um, uh, Visayas would probably go with Mindanao. Yeah. And in Luzon, however, the people are like indifferent to constitutional reform, especially when we talk about federalism. That's for me, that's understandable because they probably don't need that because they're already in the center. But if federalism is you devolve the delegate, the devolve powers because they're far from, you probably make your own center there in the region. Yeah. But if you're, for those who are here, that's probably they probably don't feel that need, unlike those in Mindanao. That probably explains why the survey is that way. So because of that, the People's Draft is a crowdsourced. Uh, More reason we came to support this bottom-up approach. Let the people decide. We will just give a framework. This how it is. There are three systems there. You choose, and it's gradual. Yeah. Nobody is forced, but at the same time, nobody is prevented. Yun lang yun. Yeah. Yung, yun yung approach.
So your idea, like Region A can elect themselves to be somewhat like Barm when they have their own say, but Region B can opt to be uh, can opt themselves to let the central government supervise them
Yeah.
directly. Yeah.
Something like that. Asymmetric.
Yeah.
Iba-iba yung style. Depende sa tao.
Mm-mm.
Depende sa botante kung ano yung gusto nila. We there's a default system there in the People's Draft. Luzon, NCR, Visayas, Mindanao, and BAR. That's
Mm-mm.
for administrative regions. You will be assigned a cabinet secretary for each region. So technically, you don't have to go to Manila anymore for approvals. Up to the up to decisions that require a cabinet secretary power. Yeah. Now beyond that, if people will want to go beyond that and want their own autonomous region, fine. Sub-state, fine. That's up to them. Uh, but again, whether it's autonomous region or sub-state, you need to win in the plebiscite in your area.
Mm-mm. Now, in espousing these reforms for the Constitution, anyway, you touched about on that a bit earlier. You prepared a draft constitution, which we call the People's Draft. You say it's well. First of all, uh, the idea of creating the People's Draft come about? How did it evolve?
Yeah. When we were still, I was still in TanDem and Father Archie was still there. We were looking into constitutional reforms already. So I was his assistant for legal. So I did prepare already a draft, like 35 pages, mostly based on the principles are general principles go all the way back to 35, carried over to 73 and 87. But when it comes to system of government, that's basically 73 because that's the closest. we are looking at parliamentary form. 73 is semi-parliament. That's the closest. For me, that was a practical choice as a lawyer. I mean, if I will use the system of government in 35 or 87, which is presidential,
Mm.
and try to convert it into parliament, that's very dangerous. There might be so many mistakes there. There might be inconsistencies that we will not see until it is approved already in a plebiscite. So, so
Mm.
that's not a practical thing to do. If you if you if you want the presidential system, okay, copy sub 35 or 87. But if you like parliament, I guess the practical choice is 73 because it's semi. Of course, 1899 is a parliament, but if you read it and compare it with the others, the English is different. It's not like the English that we use today. So it might not, it's difficult to copy that and expect the people to like readily understand it. That's how I see it. Of course, the principle is okay. Parliament 1899, but it's really different. I believe it was written in, I don't know, it was originally written in Spanish, was it?
Yeah,
And just translated,
Spanish. Yeah,
and then translated to English.
yeah.
So it's really different. You compare that with 35, the English is really different. 35,
Mm.
87, 73, the English is more or less the same. Yeah.
Mm. And you
And then,
mentioned that. Yeah, go ahead.
I sorry, yeah, I forgot. That was the first draft, 35 pages or more. Yeah, TanDem draft. And then sometime in 2018, we got to collaborate with Publicus Asia.
Mm-mm.
That's a lobby firm, etc. I got to discuss this with Malu, with our colleagues, etc. And it was Malu Tikia,
Yeah,
who insisted that, Dindo, you want a constitution? 10 pages. That's it. And I was with our colleagues there, like Glenn Chong, or congressman, also a lawyer. When Malu said 10 pages, automatically, instantaneously, we laughed. Wow! 10 pages. Di, uh, ano ba, yung 35, I think, is around 20 plus. 73, mga 30 plus. 87 is 50 plus. And the Bayanihan draft is 100 plus. And here comes Malu saying, 10 pages. And we want, and as you know, we're looking at changing many things. So but anyway, we work on it, and eventually we got it. 10 pages. 10 plus 2. 2 is a annexed ordinance. And as much as possible, uh, whenever language is already there, 35, 73, 87, we copy it to the last period, to the last comma, so that there will be no more debate. It's already there. The 35 and 73, that's con, right? Nagdebate na sila
Mm-mm.
dyan. Bakit pa natin
Yeah.
i-debate yan? Di ba? Yan na yung language nila eh. So,
Mm-mm.
of course, because we are looking at some changes, we cannot avoid new language. So yung people's draft, my estimate, 70% is old, as in copied. Halos verbatim yan. And 30% is new because there are so many changes that we would like to make. Yan lang.
Mm.
So that's the story of the people's draft. That's 2018. Tapos crowdsource, Facebook, comments, public comments, etc. And then of course, until today, it's a live draft. Version 30, version 30, A, B, C, D, F, G yan. Di ba yung
Mm.
bawat version may mga ABC. Not necessarily up to Z, but every time we meet a new group, they have their comments, and definitely very good comments also. And as long as it does not contradict the main direction, we adopt. Kaya ano yan, version 30. If, yes, sir.
Yeah. When the latest version, when was it released? If I may ask, the version 30.
Version 30. Before that
And
was
when was that?
probably a few months back.
Okay.
Yeah, kasi yung
Yeah.
like I said, every time we meet some group, they have comments, and maganda yan yung saan yung ganito. And then we look, wala. Let's clarify. Nandyan lang
that
yan,
is
kaya lang hindi maliwanag. So, okay.
So that's what you meant when you said it's a crowdsourced. So it's
Yeah.
open to
Aside from
feedback.
basically yung first crowdsource yan, yung public comments sa Facebook. That was done by Publicus back in 2018. Then after that, we continued to engage.
So so it was Maluti Kiafala who suggested that cut down to 10 pages. So I guess the question there is that with your draft cut down to basically 10 pages, how would you allay concerns that there are, I would assume there are, there's certain there are portions that are cut out in your draft. So the perception there is that with those sections cut out, makes the hello. Oh gosh, pausing this for a while.
Wala tayo. Okay. Recording in
Yes.
progress.
Yeah. Okay. Glad to get you back there. So where was I? Oh yeah. Now, being that the people's draft is like 10 page, just 10 plus 2 pages long, there are, of course, when people hear that, there will be some concerns like, why did you cut out these sections? And there's this perception that whatever sections you cut out in the people's draft means that how do you call this, that we're the draft is not
kulang
value
draft.
loss of kulang na yung
Yeah.
Why did you leave this out, and how do you address those
Okay.
things about the draft?
It's the shortest, but it's the most comprehensive, actually. More comprehensive than those with 100 pages, 50 pages, in terms of reforms that we want to implement. The executive summary will list that down. What this 10-page thing is trying to accomplish. Nakalista yun, 2-page yung executive summary. You compare that with any constitution that's more than what they can provide. All of them combined. Wala sila doon. Yung for example, yung sabi lang naman ni Malunod na Dindo, essential provisions lang. If it's already in the law, don't put it in the Constitution anymore.
Yeah.
So, bakit maiksi? Social contract yan. That's tama, di ba? That's the instrument of 60 million voters. Hindi naman mga lawyer yan. Why do you make it so long, so legalistic, etc.? As much as possible, keep it simple. Anyway, what's important is that the reforms that we want, they are there. For example, ito hindi ko na-explain kanina. They always complain na family dynasty, blah, blah, blah. And of course, during the in public, in crowdsourcing namin, Yan yung lumalabas, term limit, disqualification that relatives cannot run. So we have those two we retain in the people's draft because that's what the public wants to see. And anyway, hindi naman rigid yung incorporation niya. Pwede rin siyang baguhin later. But is that really the solution? We do not think so. I don't think so. Yung family dynasty, dalawa problema dyan, root cause, economic and political in selection process. Economic, if you're familiar, the political guys, they have something called KBL,
Yeah.
kasal, binyag, libing. Yan, mahirap yung tao eh. So saan siya pupunta? Doon sa mayaman. Sino yun? Yun yung mayor at saka yung congressman. Walang hanap buhay eh. Magkakaroon lang ng konting independence pag nagkahanap buhay na, usually kapag nag-OFW, yung isang pamilya nila, hindi na. They can sustain their own. Hindi na. They will vote their own. Pangalawa, ito yung solution namin sa family dynasty at the local level. Yung selection process. Obviously, if you're rich, if you're famous, rich and famous, you have the natural advantage. Hindi naman illegal yon, but we all know that's a natural advantage. Diba? Saan ba nakikita yung advantage na yon? Voting at large. Example, in a city, you have a mayor, isang congressman, siguro 6 yung konsihal. Yeah. If you look at the way they are voted, the voting area is the same. Whether you run for mayor, or you run for congressman, or you run for councilor. So, parang, talagang mananalo dyan yung mayaman at saka yung sikat. So, how do you address the dominance there? So, nasa people's draft, this is not found anywhere. Single member local sub-district. Kung 6 yan na konsihal sa isang syudad, you cut it up into 6 local districts. In other words, parang clusters of barangay lang yun. So you don't have to compete with this rich guy from barangay mayaman. Diba? Yung barangay mahirap, you will have your own representative in the council. That's the way to address this family dynasty issue. Problema, wala masyadong sasalita ng ganyan. Chinek ko sa Google. Google lang naman ito, no? You can correct me. Others can correct me there. In the US, I think they follow 2 systems. One is council type. The other one is mayor type. Yung parang sa atin yung diretso. But in both systems, it's always single member local district. So para lahat ng community represented. Dito hindi eh. It's voting at large.
Yeah.
So you will not be surprised if all your councilors will come from barangay mayaman. And then you complain. Bakit daw may domination yung family dynasty? That's the way you design the selection process. You change it. Yung gusto mo ng represented lahat, i-change natin yan. So, at national level, that's actually the same like parliament, di ba? Yung prime minister, hindi mo naman kailangan tumakbo ng buong bayan na buong Pilipinas na mananalo ka. Mananalo ka lang sa distrito mo, suportado ka ng mga barkada mo doon, prime minister, di ba? And of course, if they don't like you anymore because you don't follow orders, they will take you out. Diba? Vote of no confidence. Yan yung mabilis yung accountability. My colleague si Jing Mable. Meron siyang magandang word diyan, immediate accountability. Yung sabi nakuha ko yan doon sa kasama ko, si Jing Mable. Yan yung meron sa parliamentary system. At saka rin nandyan rin yung local LGU council type system, diba? You don't need evidence of crime, blah blah blah. kapag merong ginawa na hindi masyado maganda, parang hindi na nakapanipaniwala, tanggal na, palitan, di ba? And then it doesn't have to be a criminal act. Yan ang para sa amin, public office is a public trust. Yeah.
Yeah, because going back to voting by clusters instead of the like in the council, you have to elect six to eight people, and
Yes.
it actually goes from what it goes against human nature when when it comes to who we regard as yung mga close friends. Like usually yung mga close lang natin, we just consider like two or three people. For medyo for like number of people, four is maybe the maybe kumbaga either you're too sociable or no, it's a struggle finding mga four. If you have like four trusted people, can be a struggle na how much more like six to eight that you can
Yeah.
on a personal level.
That's what we're looking at. In a voting at large selection process, I mean, those who are rich and famous, they will naturally have the advantage. So that's where we need system change. Yung voter education, that's not gonna work. Not for 1,000 years. And then
not even vote wisely.
You change the system, di ba? Paniwala ko,
like vote wisely.
Not for 1,000 years.
Yeah. So
Yes, sir.
have you, with regards to the people's draft, have you shared this with those in like government officials, politicians? Have you would you have you shared that with them, or are they familiar with your draft?
We've done that since executive, no? Meron din sa Senate, meron sa House, since 2018, because that's when we drafted this new people's draft. Although the sentiment now, at least from the House, is that they will probably focus on economic first. Siguro, parang nahirapan, siguro baka yun lang kaya. So, okay, we will support that, definitely. Whatever is their effort. The ball now is in the Senate.
Yeah.
Definitely we will support what the House is doing. But still, we will file our petition. Sabi naman nung House, you cannot address that now. It's too late. No more time. For next Congress na lang. Exactly. We will file a petition so that system change will become an election issue this May 2022. So, anong sasabihin ng mga tao? Ano ba gusto nyo? Ito, exactly. This is exactly what we want. Mahirap kasi yung verbal lang eh. They will make up stories like, term ano lang yan, no L lang yan, term extension, walang ganon. We put it in writing, this is what we want. And then we can discuss. Yeah.
So you mentioned about the petition. So you mentioned that your petition that you're filing, you will file to Congress, is for the both houses to convene as a constituent assembly.
That's correct. That's basically the legal thrust of the petition for indirect initiative. Now, if they say what they have been saying, that there's no more time, fine. The petition is there, it's filed on record. We will use that to make system change upon an election issue next year.
Maybe I'm at risk of maybe I'm thinking of a question which you're free to provide the details or not, because it may be some sort of a battle plan. So, but what I want to ask, how do you, in the event that Congress says you don't have time to tackle the your petition, how do you plan on making it a
An
election
election issue.
issue, considering that there's the
We
problems of COVID, the
we have a
other.
roadmap. We have a communication plan.
Okay.
Remember that we are partnering with Publicus. That's a lobby firm. They're used to that. The political strategy, etc. So of course, this we are doing this pro bono, both of us, both groups. So we don't have the luxury of resources, but we have the talent there, and we're looking at short videos, maybe animation. We'll see. We'll see. We go through social media first. Uh, Hopefully reach a critical mass of people, so that when they come to decide who to vote for, hopefully they will ask the question, what do you think of the system? What will we do with it? Yeah. So that next time the next batch would be more open to change. In
And
fact, we
is
have like
yeah.
I forgot to mention, we have like a plan B. Plan B. Ayaw ng constitutional reform, yung limited lang na economic. Okay, fine. Tuloy natin yung economic. But we have plan B. It's an ordinary law. Adapting the major reforms for a pilot area like Mindanao. Yeah. Pwede doon yung decentralization that does not require constitutional amendment. Yeah. Pwede doon yung investment liberalization that does not touch the activities in the Constitution. Yeah. Pwede. So, baka kasi like if I go back to the survey of Publicos, Luzon is indifferent, but Mindanao is raring to go. Diba? So we test it there. If it's successful, the other regions will follow. Yeah. And this is just a law, Plan B. Batas lang yun eh. Hindi yung constitutional amendment. So yung pilot area, pilot testing. So baka pwede if they will get interested. If we can get them interested. Yung Cebu, yung Visayas. They want their own pilot test, why not? Okay, so mag-pilot testing tayo. That's in the My News website, draft bill. It covers economic. It provides for LGU council type, and it provides for administrative regions, administrative lang, regional authorities, but headed by a cabinet rank secretary. Therefore, yung decision making nandun na. If you're familiar with the ano ba yun, what am I trying to say there? In Google you can check yung sa mga departments. They have a administrative order, I think. Probably all of them, they have that, lining up the decision-making authority per department. Di ba? Ang pinakamababa doon, regional director. O, di ba? Eh di wala. And then go up to ASEC, go up to USEC, finally secretary. Kami, for example ako, no, I come from Davao, sa Mindanao. Immediately, I see a problem. What's the problem? ASEC, USEC, secretary, they're all in Manila. Yung pinakamababa doon sa listahan yun lang yan nandun sa region. So kung you look at there, ano ba yung makita ko doon? DSWD, yung nasa Google delegation of authority by department, you can check. Kahit yung mag-approval lang ng leave, yung mga personnel matters na doon pa sa, so how can you expect governance to to progress there. So ang solution doon, ay ito na lang. Let's make us let's make that an integrated region. Sama-sama na yung mga ibang line departments doon. You assign a secretary there. That's it. Gusto mo ng USEC, dagdagan mo, okay lang. Is it all departments? Not really. More like those that provide services. DOLE, DTI, DNR, DOE, yung mga ganyan, DOTR. Yung mga DBM ay hindi kasama yun. DSP, hindi. Yung mga NEDA, hindi kasama yun. DOJ, that's nothing to do with the development. That's Plan B. I don't know what will happen to that Plan B.
That's a very interesting plan B you got there. It's the first time I heard that.
Yeah. Nakita ko yan sa, if you recall, may yung practice ko is corporate commercial. Right? I do mga investments. I've dealt with, of course, PESA. We deal with them. Ay mga saan yung SPNA. Then I've seen Zamboanga Zone, Cagayan Zone, etc. These three things, Cagayan Zone, Zamboanga Zone, Aurora Zone, they have a special law just for that zone. You have a provision there saying limitations on foreign investments will not apply in their zone unless except those that are covered by the Constitution, because the law cannot go above the Constitution. Yun lang. That's where I got the idea. Pwede naman pala eh. Di ba? Kung gusto mo, yung charter ng city ninyo, baguhin mo yung charter. Pwede rin yun actually.
Yeah.
Di ba? Usually the city is a chartered city. It has its own law, di ba? Creating that city.
Yes.
Why don't you amend that law and say that in your city, investment restrictions will not apply? O pwede, di ba? But madugo yun.
That's
maraming city. So ito, hindi na, region na. Buo, isang batas lang. Buong region na. In this region, investment restrictions will not apply except for 3. Tatlo lang yung iniwan namin. Lupa. Maybe you can consider that later. Land. Small scale mining, that's really, palapiko yun eh. Manual mining. That's for really the small mine. And micro enterprise. Yeah. Yung tatlo lang. All others open.
Yeah.
That's the formula for economic progress. Yeah, anyway, we have a safeguards. Merong Foreign Investment Council. If they want, there's some business, they want the big business, they want reciprocity, fine. Yung reciprocity na papasukin natin dito, yan. Kung papasukin nila kami doon, okay, fine. But I mean, we leave that to Congress.
Yeah. Couple of things with regards to your Plan B. Firstly, you mentioned NEDA may not be, though I would think otherwise because there are a lot of regional projects that have to go through NEDA. So I think it would benefit that there will be regional NEDA so that it won't have to go to Manila for approval for like large infrastructure projects in the regions because they have to.
Yes. So
I would, and second, I will imagine that could be a very, very sticky, like with regards to foreign investment in the regards to Supreme Court. So I guess with that second question, maybe how confident are you that it would, if it's challenged, if Plan B gets implemented and there's challenge in the Supreme Court, how confident are you that you could defend it at least?
Yeah. What? Sorry, what was the first again? Sorry, Carl. Your first issue comment was?
Yeah, with regards to NEDA, because you mentioned NEDA won't have, you mentioned whether NEDA won't have like the regional.
Will not be part of it.
Yeah, but I would believe otherwise because as far as like large scale infrastructure in the regions, they would have to go through NEDA, and
Meron
I
naman
think they
silang
would
regional
benefit more with the
meron
full
naman silang
approval.
regional office. Yeah. Okay. I will answer, okay? Yung two, no? One is NEDA, the other one is constitutionality, right?
Yeah.
Yung sa NEDA, okay. I will answer that. Yung NEDA kasi is overall national. The what the regional structure is like a regional authority. Let's say nandun na yung DOE, DOTR, DSWD, DOLE, DTI, yung mga those that deal with the people, provide services. Yeah. Deal with the people directly. No? Integrated na yun. Meron isang cabinet secretary for Mindanao, except BARM. BARM is excluded. Hindi kasi may sarili na siya.
Yeah, it's established now.
That council, they can have their own economic design. And of course, NEDA, they have offices in Mindanao, diba? Except that they will be independent of that regional authority. Hindi sila kasama doon na. Of course, when it comes to national programs, I mean, to be approved by Congress, I mean, Congress will have to listen to NEDA, not just to this cabinet secretary for Mindanao, di ba? Ang sinasabi ko lang, DBM, NEDA, DOJ, DFA, DND, DILG, nothing to do with development. They will not be part of that regional authority who will be under a new cabinet secretary. That's all I'm saying. But of course, they will continue their own functions. That they will have continue their own branch offices there. In fact, if you have a proposal like that, I don't think they would want to be part of that. Kunwari, central bank, I don't think they would like to be part of central bank office there will be under the cabinet secretary for Mindanao. I don't think they will like that. Yung NEDA doon, he will now be answerable to the cabinet secretary for Mindanao. Probably not. National pa rin sila. So anyway, idea lang naman yun. And it's open to debate. Flexible naman tayo dyan. Pangalawa, sa constitutionality, walang problema, bossing. I don't see any. We have a presidential system of government. It's one-man rule. Okay? One-man rule. Everybody reports to the president, a cabinet secretary. This is a cabinet secretary for Mindanao. So what's the issue? Diba? Yung pag sinabi ng presidente, I will appoint a cabinet secretary for Mindanao who will rule all these departments nakalista except those in BARM, diba? Who is to question that? That's a political decision. There's nothing constitutional issue there. I don't see any. Pwede yan, the regional authority will be under the office of the president. The cabinet secretary for Mindanao will be under the office of the president. So can the president reverse him? Of course he can. Alter ego lang naman siya. If the president says, no, that's a wrong decision, this is what you do. Isunod ka. Yun ang pagkakaiba doon sa autonomous region or sa sub-state. Wala na ang presidente doon. Pag gumawa ng decision yun on economic something program, blah, 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 and they have a difference in opinion, yung autonomous region or sub-state executive, his opinion will prevail. Itong regional authority, ano lang to you can imagine that just like the existing, how many regions do we have now? 14? Administrative, etc.
I think it's 18 or 19.
18, yeah. Okay. And each one is a regional director level lang, di ba? Mas mataas pa sa kanya yung asset, USEC. Imagine all of them, the head is a cabinet rank secretary. That's it. Except that ang gusto namin sana integrated. let me explain it in another way. In terms of the military organization, okay? If you're familiar sa military, Army, Navy, Air Force, may
Yeah.
commander, right? The chief, right? But then you also have unified commands. Eastern Mindanao, Western Mindanao, Visayas, I think there's a new one for Palawan. I got this from a friend also who used to be with the US Navy. So, iba pala yun, no? Meron silang theater commander, kunwari sa Persian
Mhm.
Gulf. And then of course you have the US Air Force, Navy, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Mga branch yun. Okay? Yung theater commander, iba siya. The moment a unit is assigned to him in that area, they fall under his operational control. Whether that's Army, that's Navy, Marines, Air Force, it doesn't matter. Siya ang commander doon. Hindi siya pwedeng i-reverse nung yung mga nasa Washington or whatever. Yeah. Ganun din sa Philippines. If yung mga regional command, regional unified command yan. If you look what's under this guy, merong doon, may Navy, may Air Force, may Army. The only difference is that the assets are not that much. But the idea is the same, di ba? We would have wanted it to have more, but I mean, but the idea is ganun lang din yung sinasabi namin sa regional authority. You will still have yung the secretary, DOTR, DOE, all of them in Metro Manila, blah blah blah. But when you talk about the operations in Mindanao, you will have a regional commander there. Whether that guy is from DOTR, DOE, DOLE, blah blah blah, you report to your regional commander. Yun. Ganun lang ang idea. And everybody will of course be answerable to the commander-in-chief, the president. Ganun lang. Exactly ganun lang idea. Except that this is now the civilian form rather than the military form.
So in effect, with this plan B, you're establishing sort of like a de facto, de facto decentralization,
That's correct.
sort of like, yeah.
De facto sub-state. De facto autonomous halos, di ba?
Yeah.
Cabinet secretary yung boss niya eh. Yun na yun. The only one who can reverse him is the president. Not even the department secretary in Manila. Bakit? They're the same rank. And that's not their job. The job of operations in Mindanao is the cabinet secretary for Mindanao. Of course, like yung sinasabi sa akin yung sa US, na siguro kung may disciplinary action or may training, you send them back to the Camp Aguinaldo or to whatever, to the US mainland. Ay iba yun. Yung jurisdiction, balik-balik doon sa branch commander, not the area commander. But if you're in the area, you follow the orders of the area commander.
I see. Anyway, going back to the, you mentioned earlier about the, I guess what you could call like sort of a quote unquote campaign to to bring system change at the forefront of the 2022 elections.
Yeah.
So
paano? Na,
like in particular, kasi traditionally, like traditional media doesn't, either they have a intentional or unintentional, skew the views with regards to system constitutional reform, or provide like an incomplete picture, whatever. With that plan of yours for the 2022 to bring that matter in the forefront, how are you going to combat, that perception or misinformation in the mainstream media with regards to the importance of reform?
Yeah. the word used to combat, it gave me the idea, combat o di guerrilla. Combat pala, guerrilla lang kami. We cannot go against the mainstream media, right?
Yeah.
So guerrilla lang sa social media, and hopefully we will rely on the creativity of those who will be helping us, the short videos, etc. If that will hit, that's it. That will change things overnight. We will
Yeah.
see. Uh, Tulong-tulong na lang tayo. Lahat tayo na gusto ng pagbabago na totoo.
Mhm.
But yung to discuss the specifics now, it's not with me. There's a plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's going to be a production team. How do you create these videos? Wala pa ako doon. But
Mhm.
we will do that definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, going back to, yeah, like you just have you because you mentioned like you're saying a petition. What is the status of the petition right now? Have you submitted it to
Not yet, not
Congress?
yet. Siguro after
Ah,
lockdown.
okay.
Kulang ng signature. Hinihintay ko pa yung signature ng grupo nyo.
Yeah, yeah.
Wala pa sa akin. Meron na sa akin yung of course TanDem, of course,
Mhm.
and then Kapatiran Party. Yeah.
Ah,
If you heard that is mabilis yun na nauna siya yata yung unang nagbigay ng ng verification. Then Lumad Mindanao, all the way from Mindanao yan. Nasa akin na. We're waiting for 3 more,
okay.
including yours. Yeah. Then we will
Yeah.
file.
Okay. Yeah. Um, right now, given the the uncertainty of the situation, I wish all of us good luck in the fight to reform the
Talaga to.
system. Yeah, isang malaking good luck considering
Yeah.
it's a very these are very challenging times, which parts beyond our control. Um, but yeah, the fight. The fight goes on.
Yeah. Yung sinasabi sa akin sa mga tandem mo, dito, nasaan yung mga young members nyo? I'm not young. Nandun ako sa dulo eh. Marami na ako mag-senior. So, we hope to count on the young people too. They'll probably be the ones to make the difference. Your group basically. Maraming young sa group, yung correct movement, etc. Ano naman ito? It's like building a tower. May foundation, may until you reach the top, right? It's not like one guy is a Superman will build it. There's no such thing. Okay?
Mm.
We will just have, each one will have to contribute until we make it. Ganun lang. And then kailangan ng continuity. Kasi sabi nila, Dindo, dami nang nawala sa mga supporters natin na. Father
Yeah,
Archie, but like few years ago, Father Jun Eliseo, sa
yeah,
Tutak Mindanao, yan. May mga
yes,
wala na
yes. Prof.
sa
Gary
data,
Olivar, Prof. Sureta, yeah,
discouraging, frustrating. Yan. Ako may sagot naman ako doon, sabi, di naman ganoon. Sinadya ng Diyos yun kasi tapos na yung contribution nila. Pagod na. At saka alam ng Diyos yan kung anong nangyayari dito. Ang feeling niya, kaya na natin ito. Sila na yung nag-build ng foundation. Tayo na
yeah,
magpupuno. And then, anyway, nandyan naman kayo, di ba? Kung ako nandun na ako sa dulo, may susunod na. Kaya na natin to. Don't worry. We'll
yeah,
do this. Go for gold.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's yeah.
Team
If
Philippines tayo,
we got
bossing.
done,
Ha?
yeah,
Team
it's a
Philippines,
goal.
ha?
Yeah,
We go for the gold.
yeah. Hopefully, it does not take like 96 years, like what happened before we got our Olympic gold. Yeah, I
Ano
think
yan?
96, 97 years before it took 96, 97 years before Philippines got its Olympic gold. So I hope it won't. I'm hopeful
Ah,
that it won't take that long.
wag naman, bossing.
Wag,
Wag naman.
no,
I
no,
read
no.
somewhere that like constitution, this like I can't find it anymore, but constitutional reform is like 30 years before you get to change it. Tayo na sa 35 na,
Yeah,
or 40 na.
kumbaga,
So baka malapit na, bossing. Malapit na. We'll just support
yeah,
the House. At least if that little thing they can it can pass through in the Senate, ganda.
yeah. Well, the problem actually is with more with the Senate because they're,
Yeah.
I don't
That
know.
that one I have something there to share. Yeah. A long time ago I did some research. Sa batas kasi three-fourths, right?
Mm-mm.
But it's not very clear what they mean by three-fourths. That's a problem. Bakit? Yun kasing 87 Constitution, it was rushed.
Yeah.
I think the vote between bicameral and unicameral was won by one vote. Parang ganon. Yung parang ganon lang eh. Parang tie break. Parang ganon.
Mm-mm.
So it was intended to be yung drawing niya, yung design, sulat. Unicameral, biglang 50-50 pala until somebody broke the tie and bicameral siya. So if you look at the way it's written, it is jumbled. So it's not true when they say that because you're bicameral, everything should be blah blah blah. Hindi totoo yun. For example, yung revocation of the declaration of martial law, maliwanag doon sa joint session yun or something. All the others is vague. So I did some research like 10 years ago. It's there in the internet. Um, we can justify legally separate voting. That's what they want anyway. But commutative counting. So even if
Mm.
you don't have three-fourths in the Senate, you at least have a majority. You need a majority anyway to pass a resolution. Uh, that should be enough to send it to COMELEC. Majority vote, simple majority vote sa Senate, and then overwhelming three-fourths House. If the total is three-fourths overall, that should be it. That should be justified. That article research is in my news. Um, um,
The I think
I'm sure
the
people,
problem, yeah,
yeah, I'm sure people will oppose it. Okay, fine. They bring it to the Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court decide.
yeah. I think that's what's thinking about it. It's it until now it has not yet been challenged in the Supreme Court, so we are right now in this limbo
Yeah.
regarding, yeah.
It's in the article. It explains the way voting is done on different issues. So in the end, the conclusion is it's up to them. It's not written in stone. It's like flexible. Uh, Vote separately, fine. Vote jointly, fine. But at the end of the day, you count cumulatively. That's the
So
that's the which means you can bring that small little thing, di ba? Small na little pa. Uh, Economic provision as otherwise except as otherwise provided by law. Hopefully in a plebiscite in May 2022.
but in
Initially,
the case of,
ayaw ko
yeah,
sana yun eh. Kaya lang, kung talagang yun lang,
mm,
di ba, ang magagawa natin.
yeah, kumbaga, as the saying goes, you play with the cards that you deal with. Eh. Yeah. Pero I guess I think what I'm wondering now is in the event like if the Senate passes it pero simple majority, and in the event the House doesn't, for some reason or another, it doesn't challenge it, like it doesn't force it, can the people or ordinary citizens take the Supreme Court and say that despite this, based on the calculations, it's 3/4. So the make a petition to rule Supreme Court to rule on that if it's from the
Yeah,
citizens,
that's a
or
good
does it
idea.
have?
You're bringing up, uh, assuming they won't act on it. Um, I'm not sure because that process, that's a constituent assembly process yan eh. Di ba? That is a
Mm,
constituent assembly activity that is delegated to the House and the Senate, not to us, not to ordinary folks. So I doubt if it can be legal that somebody, NGO, citizen, will force the issue. I don't see how an NGO can force the Senate to give that resolution to COMELEC. Kasi may resolution yan. Ito, give it to a play. They have to issue that resolution and give it to COMELEC. Parang instruction. Oh, sama mo to sa election. Yeah. Now, if they will not do that, House or Senate, um, I don't see how we can compel them. Mandamus. It's probably too late. Supreme Court yun. Uh, it's a little, medyo we can play around the theory, maybe. Yeah, but it's not very clear. So hopefully sila mismo will do. Because if at least a majority in the Senate will want it, why not try it? Let the give that resolution to COMELEC with instruction to include it in the election process, plebiscito. Di ba? Anyway, yung House, walang problema. Gusto na nila yun eh. They will give it sa Senate na lang. And then let the Supreme Court decide on the legality. I'm sure people will oppose it. Yung mga kontra
mm,
na puro kontra, walang gustong baguhin. They complain about oligarchy, they complain about family dynasty, they complain about corruption, but they don't want to change the system. So, yung ibang problema natin systemic. So how can you address that?
mm. Yeah, it's yeah, like I said, it's shame that in regards to they have not yet been challenged, and with regards to testing uh, the mechanism of the current system to bring about those changes. It's frustrating that we see some possible loopholes, but they have not yet been explored or exploited yet. So here's hoping that someone would have that idea to take advantage of those possible mechanisms to at least bring about some measure of change that we have long been seeking. You know? Yeah. Anyway, we're almost about to wrap
Over.
up with this
We're over
interview.
the overtop. We're
Yeah,
over the over. Yeah.
that's okay. So I guess well, first of all, thank you very much for taking the time to discuss a lot of the issues relating to system reform. And before we close, I'd just like to ask this question. Uh, and that question is, what is uh, what is a good constitution? What is a good constitution for you?
For me, that's a key. The Constitution is the framework. And for me, I'm into this because for me, it's a key to solving many problems that we have. It is
Mm-mm,
something that can change our life, not just us. not just the middle class, etc., upper class, but everybody must a class. Uh, More than the candidates who will promise you everything, every elections, every 3 years, every 6 years. I mean, our lives never changed. We have elections like regularly, di ba? Because
Mhm.
we never touch the system. So yun para sa akin importante siya. Um, Hopefully it happens soon in our lifetime. And when that happens, I would like to believe that it will take its own life form. Uh, yung pagbago na yung selection process ng politiko, it will generate good people. Uh, Pag iba na yung may hawak ng poder, grupo na, hindi ng isang tao lang, di ba? It will change the way things are run. And then when that happens, uh, I will leave this advocacy behind. Mag-relax na ako. I'll just do other things. We're not
Yeah.
supposed to do this. We are ordinary citizens.
Yeah, it's you know, and being in an advocacy, yeah, you know, it's a thankless job. You know, you get weary and tired because of the uh realities in this world. But you know, yeah, uh in the end we have to keep doing what we have to do if we are to realize the vision that we have for this country and for our fellow Filipinos. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I,
Okay na sir, naputol eh. Are we good?
yeah. That would be it. So again, thank you, Attorney Dindo, for joining me today in this lengthy discussion. Again, I wish you luck. I wish us luck
Us, boss.
in
Wag yung
this.
you. Us, wish us. Us. We cannot do this
Yeah,
alone. Yeah.
yeah. I
Everybody
said
will have
you,
to
and I wish
help
us.
each other.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah. It's just as we take there. So again, thank you, and the best of luck to all of us for constitutional reform.
Salamat,
Thank you.
Carl.
Salamat, Attorney Dindo. Have a good day. Keep safe.
Yeah. Keep safe.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So yeah, that is it for our special video podcast for the Constitution Podcast. Like us on Facebook at the Constitution Project, on Twitter at Constitution PH. For now, follow our video blogs on my personal YouTube, Carla Aguilar. I'm thinking if I should set up a separate YouTube channel for Constitution Project, but we'll see. And of course, subscribe to the Constitution Podcast on all your podcasts, on all the places where you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, uh, Red Circle, whatever you have there. So again, thank you for watching and listening. Again, this is Carl Aguilar of the Constitution Project. Have a good day and padayon sa pagbabago.